Stop recording button. Double tap to activate.
Hello. Yes, I am recording this videos for WIP Wednesday. Look, I'm still working on the baby blanket, but I really feel like it's almost done. What are your thoughts? You think this is done? Almost done? I don't know. But I thought, why not hang out with y'all, right? Do a little more work on it. Do those last, those few knit rows that we do together, right? So, say hello in the comment section. Let me know what your WIP is today. Are you knitting with me? Are you crocheting with me? Are you organizing your paperwork? Are you cleaning your closets? What do we do when we hang out together, right? So, anyways, uh, if you're a returning viewer, I want to thank you so much for choosing to come back, hang out, spend a little bit of your day with me. That means so much to me that we're crafting buddies, right? So, that's pretty cool. And of course, thank you for your patience while I briefly introduce myself to anybody who might be new to my channel. Hi, my name's May. I love yarn. I love to knit and crochet. Those are my hobbies. And I also happen to have been born visually impaired, legally blind, colorblind. And so I knit and crochet by feel, and you'll find all kinds of stuff on my channel about knitting and crochet, also about life with a disability, all kinds of stuff. So anyways, let me know how you're doing, right? What where you're from, what your hobbies are, what your crafts are, what your WIP is, right? So anyway, let's have a talk, y'all. Let's have a talk. So my last video where I worked on, well, first I should let you all know, like sometimes it's pretty dark in my videos, like right now, because you know what? It's in the middle of the night. If you're a returning viewer, you know I got insomnia issues, and so it is not at all uncommon for me to like crash out, fall asleep for like an hour or two or something, and then wake up and be awake in the middle of the night. So here I am, awake in the middle of the night, and I'm like, you're getting up to those rows, right? Those knit rows, and you're almost done with your blanket. So you might as well WIP it with your people, right? Even though it's like 12:30 in the morning or something. So I do know it's kind of dark in here. I did turn on a light just for you all. I did. But if you watch my videos sometimes and it's like kind of dark, right? If you watch till the end, I'll usually turn a light on so you can see some of the colors or you can see some of the project or whatever. But in my last video, it was like right around sundown. And of course, I kind of, like most people, sometimes we'll get into like a routine or something, and so we'll do things at certain times of the day. And so I was recording my videos, sort of towards the evening time. But of course, right, it's August and I live in Washington State in the United States. And so, of course, the sun does start, setting earlier, and so I'm constantly trying to like readjust my recording time and get it so the sun isn't coming in, because to my right and your left is west, right? So that's where the sun is setting. And so, we do have to be like, I have to be really mindful of that, because if it comes in at the wrong angle, then it hits the camera, and then it's like bright, and it's like whiteout conditions for you guys, and it's bright and it's uncomfortable for me. But then if I wait too long, it gets too dark for y'all to see. Now, from my last video, that happened. It got really dark, and I didn't even realize it, and I just kept right on, like knitting and chatting and doing my thing, right? Just doing my thing. And so it doesn't bother me at all. Like, I knit with the lights off. I knit in the dark. When I wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, if I can't sleep, I just grab my knitting and start knitting. And it doesn't at all matter to me that it's dark. And so sometimes it doesn't occur to me at all that it's like, dark and too dark for people. It occurs to me that it's dark sometimes, but not that it's too dark for other people to see. And so in my last video, it got pretty dark, and I don't know how dark. I did look at it. I don't know how dark it got. Like, could people see anything in it? I don't know. I really don't, because just because I don't say something doesn't mean it's not there. So I miss a lot of things on the internet. I look at a lot of people's videos and, don't really see stuff. I mean, I can tell if it's dark or not in their videos, if it's at night. So I knew for sure my video was at night. But I don't know if you could see anything or not at the end, like maybe the last, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes of that video. So anyways, did people watch it after that? I know you could hear, like I could clearly hear my knitting needles clicking away, right? Like I use nickel plated needles, so I know you could hear them like clicking away. But, anyways, like, did people still watch, or were you like, it's dark, lady, it's dark, don't you know? Right? Because I could just keep knitting and talking, and it does it obviously like I did, right? It doesn't bother me at all, doesn't, change anything for me in terms of knitting. But obviously I could have and should have like realized, oh, it's getting dark, and reached over here and turned on this lamp that I remembered to turn on tonight for y'all. So, but like, how is that for other people, for viewers? Do you watch that, or are you like, nope, when it got dark I couldn't watch? Like, could you just not listen? I don't know. Like, some people, I think that truly is a thing. Like, if it's a video and they're a real visual person, they're like, nope. If I don't have something to see, then I can't just listen. But at the same time, if you're a crafter, I know a lot of us are like on the YouTube and wanting to have another crafter in the background to see what they're up to. Then if that's the case, then some of you might just be knitting and crocheting and paying attention to your own project and just wanting to have a crafting buddy in the background, and so you might not actually care. If you can hear me, right, you might be looking at your own project, looking at your own hands, and so you might not really be paying attention to too much, or need too much to see like what's on the screen. I don't know. Obviously, I know, like, when I do teachings and things, I try to make sure there's enough light in the room. Like, I just did that video on garter stitch, and so I definitely try to make sure this lamp is on. I often turn on the overhead light, which I rarely use because it's so bright and it's so painful for me. But I also know that, like, other people, when they're trying to learn, that the people want to see visually. So but when it's not something that you're trying to see, like learn something specifically from me, how much of a difference does it mean in you watching the video? Like, if it's too bright, or if it's too dark, if the lighting is bad, and it gets dark, is that something that you just tune out of anymore? I don't know how people feel, because, in today's world, like, a lot of people listen to audiobooks these days. Like, I obviously, right, I listen to audiobooks all the time. I've been listening to audiobooks since I was a little kid, since I was like 3 or 4. Before Audible was cool, okay, y'all. Now I love it, because like millions of people listen to Audible in their cars now, in their commute, in their travel, and so I love that, because that means that there's a huge selection of books out there, and all that. So I love it. So I like the idea that more and more people today are getting into, like, the idea that I can just listen to something, right? And that they don't always have to have visuals. And so, I think more people are doing that these days. But at the same time, when you're on YouTube, some people definitely want a visual, and some people don't care as much. I know podcasts are so much more of a big deal today too. And so a lot of people will listen to their, oh my goodness, this big long tail is really, really problematic. Podcasts are really big today too, which I think is cool. I love that. I love that there's just so much more material out there. But, so a lot of people listen to those when they're commuting. So, more people are getting used to sort of like the whole audio thing. So maybe it doesn't bother people, to just listen. And if indeed I'm stitching away, I'm knitting or crocheting or something with y'all, and you know, it goes dark, right? It just dark. And I forget to turn on a light. Like, let me know your thoughts on that. If that's something that just causes you to, like, you know, tune out, or if you can make it through to the end. So, anyways, just kind of wanted to like put that out there, okay? Like, I think it's important, right, to have the conversation that I, you know, didn't realize it in the moment, how, you know, how dark it was. But anyways, how you all doing? How's your summer going? Are you all like, you know, are you doing okay with the weather? Do you have any, like, we have weird summer weather all over this country, right? We get places where they have tropical storms and thunderstorms and hurricanes and all that kind of stuff. And then where I live at, we have wildfires. Like, what? Yeah, wildfires. And so I was just thinking about that. Like 2 years ago in 2023, we had a really serious wildfire, like just behind me, about, you know, like 3 miles or something. And it was so it was surreal. I'm telling you, if you've never been through, like, you know, a natural disaster kind of a thing like that, and it really wasn't like a natural disaster because it was started by power lines, right, on a, you know, day when we had like 20 or 30-mile-an-hour winds. And so it took off. That wildfire burned for 15 days, which, you know, in sort of like the grand scheme of wildfires, that isn't that many days, right? We know that there are wildfires that can burn for months and months and months. So, you know, 15 days really isn't that big of a deal. And it was, but it is for us. When you're living in it, right, it's a big deal. 15 days of, you know, being on the edge of an evacuation zone, and the smoke was so awful. If you're in an area that has wildfires, then you know there's this thing called your AQI, right? That's your air quality index. And we were in the hazardous range for weeks and weeks and weeks. It was so smoky here. And, you know, I could hear like for the day of the fire. Okay, I'm sure y'all pick up on it, right? I live on a highway. I do. I live on a highway. I live out in the country, so I'm sure that you hear the highway noise and the traffic noise all the time. And so the day of that fire 2 years ago, it was just over 2 years ago. Really to the day, it was like the middle and like that third week of August time. And so the day of the fire, I heard the sirens go down that highway, but that's, you know, that's not like super uncommon, right? For me to hear sirens. I live on a highway, so of course that's not that unusual for me, you know, because there's car accidents out there and stuff. So I heard the sirens go by, and then a little bit later, I heard a second set of sirens shortly after that, and it's like, was it a really big car accident, like a pileup? Because you go down this highway for a few miles, and it turns north, and you connect to like the main interstate, and so there can be like big accidents out there. And then I heard a third set of sirens, and I was like, oh no, it's big. I don't know what it is, but it's big, and it's not good. So then, of course, I was all over the social media, which I'm not a big social media person at all. Like, don't have X, don't have Instagram, don't have TikTok, none of that stuff. So, but I do have Facebook, and even I don't use Facebook that much anymore. But this time of year, now because of that wildfire, I'm on there, you know, at least once a day, like checking for wildfires in my area. And then of course, like anytime I've got like PTSD from that fire. Like anytime that, you know, we get like a sirens that go by in the summertime like that, I'm on social media, and I'm like checking the news and all of that, and checking like I follow my local fire department's Facebook page, and they're good. They're really, really good about updating us. And I just feel so blessed and grateful, because since that was 2 years ago, that was 2023, and they have just been on top of every wildfire since then that starts out here for any reason. They're on it now. They're like vigilant about it, and, you know, really good. about making sure that those fires get taken care of. So I feel like we're in good hands with them. We're just blessed. So anyways, but from that day on now, whenever I hear sirens go by down that highway, I'm like checking social media, like quickly. I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? Is it a fire? Like, how close is it? It was really scary. Like, that fire burned 10,000 acres, which, again, that's not huge, right? And compared to some of the wildfires, but that's still plenty big. 10,000 acres is a lot of land, and it burned over 200 structures, like 250 homes or something like that. Excuse me. Burned down. And so, you could say, 10,000 acres isn't that big of a wildfire. But, if you lose your home in a wildfire, it's a big deal. It doesn't matter if it was, if it was a fire of 1 acre. If you lose your home, it's a big deal. So over 250 structures burned in that fire, and it was mostly homes. So I don't know how many of you know or live near, in wildfire areas. Because if you live in a wildfire area, like level evacuation levels, right? That's something that you're familiar with. Like for me, because I live in wildfire area, I know the evacuation levels. Like, okay, there's like level 1, which means that's usually they send something out on social media. The news stations pick it up, and it's like level 1 evacuation is like, hey, you need to be aware that there's danger, in your area, that there's danger, that there's something going on. You need to stay alert. You need to check the news often. You need to check the social media. You might need to get home. You might need to pick your kids up from school. And then, level 2 of evacuations for fires means pack your bags, right? So, like, get your papers together and, get your pills and, like your insurance stuff together. Get the kids, get the pets rounded up, and then level 3 means go. It means, leave, because if you don't leave, which you don't have to leave, but, they're saying, like, at level 3, we're closing roads. At level 3, it could be too dangerous to send in help for you, right? So it can mean that, we're not necessarily going to risk our lives and die. If you choose to stay in an evacuation zone, we're probably not sending in help for you, So that's a choice people can make, but they're not going to send in help for you, that likely not. Because, it really changes things. It gets eerily quiet. So, it's different. So I was like right on the boundary of 2 and 3 is where I was. Like I was checking, Facebook multiple times a day. Because I was right at the boundary, right at the edge. It was close. It was really, really close. Like I heard the helicopters and the planes, like where they send the planes and the helicopters to go get water, to get water out of the lakes and stuff like that. And so I could hear like the helicopters and the planes going, back and forth. And it's all day, man. It's all day that they run those helicopters as soon as it's daylight, where they have enough light for the pilots to fly safely, right? They start running those helicopters and those planes and doing the water drops and stuff. So it was a scary time though, for sure. It's really frightening, 15 days to be constantly vigilant like that. And because I was right at that 2 and that 3 stage of the pack your bags, I did pack my bags, like, and it's so, it's surreal. I don't know how many of you have ever lived in an area where, natural disasters of any kind, not just wildfires, like I know that there's flooding and there's hurricanes and there's tornadoes. And so I know people all over the country and all over the world, people have different types of natural disasters. And so, I was at the pack your bag stage, and it's surreal to truly, like walk around your house and pack your bag, right? And knowing that like what I'm packing could be all that I have that's left in my house. Like I live in a 3-bedroom house, you know, and I'm like walking around the 3 bedrooms and going through my closets and, you know, thinking like, when I leave this house, when I take this bag with me and I leave this house, none of this is likely going to be here. Like I knew that if I left my house, it was going to be because it was going to burn down, right? It was going to burn down and there wouldn't be anything left. And that is such a eerie, it's spooky, it's surreal, it's eerie to do that and to like go through that experience of like going through your closets and going through your belongings in life and being like, what am I going to take? What are the things that are just, you know, absolutely irreplaceable? You know, what can I never what can I never replace, right? Like what are the things that, you know, you can't buy in a store? It's really a strange, it's surreal. I don't even know how to explain it if you haven't been through it. But like, you know, I'm visually impaired, but I still have some sight. And so I was still like ready to pack my pictures and stuff, you know, because I can still, I struggle to see my own pictures anymore, but I can still see them a little bit. Like I got to hold them up right up to my eye. And I struggle, like I can't really recognize people that well in pictures anymore, but I can kind of put pieces together of like, okay, that was, you know, that was during my college days. That was with, you know, my ex-boyfriend that I was with in college and my guide dogs. That's the thing that's so precious to me is if, you know, if you don't know, I had 3 guide dogs in my younger days. I got my first guide dog in high school and then I had guide dogs in college, at undergrad, at graduate school, and obviously dogs don't live very long, right? So I don't have any of my guide dogs anymore. I had 3 beautiful German Shepherds. And so I have, you know, just a whole box full of pictures with them and like all of our travels and, you know, all the places that we went and things that we did. And, you know, like I was in weddings with one of my guide dogs and did, you know, a lot of travels to beaches with one of my guide dogs. And so, you know, I just have some really special memories there that even though I could hardly see him anymore, I was like, that's going, right? That's going with me. I just couldn't, there was no way that I was going to leave that behind. Like I have one of my guide dog's collars and, you know, a few, like, I even, okay, I'm a knitter, right? And I knit and crochet. And even that, I was like trying to make sure that I packed some of my own, you know, the garments that I've knit. I know that might seem kind of weird to some of you, but I was like, oh, I made that, you know, and that's not something I can get in the store. And so I wanted to make sure that I packed some of my hand knit items that I knew I was never gonna, you know, be able to get at a Target or Fred Meyer or Walmart or something like that. So that was definitely something that was going through my mind. It was like, what, you know, what are the irreplaceable items? Like, you know, I mean, obviously you bring some underwear, right? Underwear and that kind of stuff, but also knowing that, you know, that's stuff you can get. You can go to Walmart or Target or Fred Meyer and purchase that stuff. So you don't need to bring a bunch of that stuff, even though it's weird to like not know, you know, how long is this going to be for? If I leave here, am I ever coming back? Am I coming back to ashes? Am I coming back to, you know, just like a few things that might be standing? It was so spooky and it was so surreal to sit here and, you know, smell that thick smoke. It was so hazy and so gray here. The smoke was just thick. We were choking on it, you know, and I hate complaining about the smoke because I you know, 250 people lost their houses. So, you know, for me to complain about the smoke, I feel like that's so, you know, it's so trivial, but it was super like uncomfortable for me, like, you know, to breathe during those days. And so it was just, yeah, it was about 15 days of like stress and crazy and, you know, sleeplessness and, you know, not knowing of like, you know, is this the day when I'm going to have to leave? Is this the day that, you know, it's all going to be gone? So anyways, I just reflecting on that because that was August. That was August of 2023. when I still remember that day of hearing the sirens. I remember hearing that third set of sirens go by, and I thought, there's something big going on here, right? And so now I'm just vigilant. Like I don't know if that's ever gonna go away from me. Maybe, but maybe not. Like I might spend the rest of my life, right? Every time I leave here, I hear sirens, and I'm like, get on Facebook and check the news and check your fire department and figure out, like, is there danger? How close is it? Do you have to pack? All that. So, anyways, that's kind of what was on my mind. I'm almost done here with my third row. I think I will stop with the third row. I'm really going to have to make a decision on whether or not I want to do any more pattern repeats on this blanket, or whether we're done with it. Are y'all getting tired of it? Are you like tired? This is our 6th session of working on it, right? So it might be done for the channel in terms of, like, I don't know what we're gonna do tomorrow though yet. I don't know, like Thursday, so I don't know. But probably I'm guessing some of you are getting a little tired of seeing the blanket, but some of you, might be making it. So anyways, I am gonna stop though for now. I think we usually just do these 3, and I gotta stop now for sure, because I gotta make a decision on, do I want to start another pattern repeat and do a purl row, or do I want to say this is my first garter stitch row, because I did 4 rows of garter stitch on the bottom. And so I could just make this my first row of garter stitch and do 3 more rows of garter stitch, right? And bind up. So anyways, here it is. I will let you see it. See the work that we've done together. Here it is. I did my 3 more knit rows while I was hanging out with y'all here in the middle of the night. The middle of the night, okay? Like what? Alexa, what time is it?
The time is 12:46 a.m.
Yeah, y'all. It's in the middle of the night because I can't sleep. So anyways, here's the blanket. So alrighty, well, you know what I like to end with, right? Creativity is for everybody. Whether you see or you see like me or you don't see it all, creativity is for you. And whether it's knitting or crocheting or sewing or quilting or beading or sculpting or painting or weaving or whatever it is that you do, today is a great day to craft and create. Thanks so much for listening. Until next time, happy stitching. Bye-bye for now. You want to see the blanket? Okay, I'll put you on pause and turn the light on.
Pause button. Pause.
Okay, y'all, here it is. Here's our bottom edge. Here's the whole blanket. What do you think? You think that's long enough for a baby blanket? To me, it's like, we're all the way here at the top. We did our 3 knit rows, right? Together, we made this little garter ridge together. So I'm going to have to stop and make a decision on that. But that's the blanket, so I don't know if you'll see it again. Anyways, thanks so much for listening. Happy stitching. And until next time, bye-bye for now.
Stop recording.